Abuse Begins. This is our meeting announcement. Probably similar to Meetup. You saw on Meetup. We have various features of that. One of it is quick links, and that just, the first one, Club Calendar, that just takes you to Meetup calendar there. The meeting announcement, which is this announcement. If you want to see what's going on, maybe before you attend the meeting, you can get updates. This will be updated, maybe. And sometimes I'll even mail it to people this week, like this week. Where's Frank? No, Frank's not here.
You actually got it mailed.
Yeah.
He comes late sometimes, Frank does.
The late Frank, yeah, and we encourage that. Those people work. Link to meeting videos. Leroy does a video of the meetings, and it's available online. We have a Google Plus group, which we'll talk about, that you can submit ideas to or see what's going on in people's minds, or being warned of what's coming up in the next meeting and that sort of stuff.
A group for the next 8 months.
And there's the GitHub location. And the quick news and the Linux news. Now is the time for planning for the post-Android world. We talked about a little bit of that prior to the meeting. We have a pre-meeting coffee shop meeting before we come here. It looks like the EU is mad at the Android world, Google Android world taking over the world, and they don't like it, and they've sued Google for multi-billions, and we'll see how that goes. But they do have I think they do have a grip on people's data.
Google does.
Google does, yes. Personal data.
Got a grip on just about everything.
Yeah, they're getting big, and then I can see, you know, some were somewhat defensive, but I think they do have a point to saying Google is more like a monopoly, a public monopoly. They're getting to that point. Okay, and we try to bring various articles. If you write some articles, let me know about them. We can put links to them in here. We like good articles. I've seen some interesting stuff in the past couple of months on, you don't realize what's going on in the background, big time.
Yeah, I'll be writing this up here shortly, and then I probably will have a blog post or two that goes up on the Altium website here shortly as well.
Okay. Okay, let's see, what else we got here? We do have some folders that some people use. If you want to do a presentation and you want to have your stuff offered to other people to view, you can put it in these folders. If you want a folder, let me know, and I'll put your folder up. It's just a cloud thing on Google's. And you can put your information up there. If you want to see the projects that the members have done, some of them are up there. Sometimes the people put links to them in the meeting notes or whatever. Last week, Leroy did the DF Robot Micro McQueen. I keep last week's pointer. There's some other stuff too down here. Oh, club membership participation notes. That's just a list of everything that we've done. This information here is transferred to there when we're done with it here. So we got a log of what's been done. And that's pretty much the most part of it. We believe in freedom from fear here. No one should be persecuted for what they say here. We try to be non-threatening. No one should be intimidated here. Not even the fearless leader should be intimidated or.
So what I'm gathering is passive aggressiveness is thoroughly and openly welcomed here. That's what I just heard.
I get to ask really stupid questions whenever I want.
There is that too, right?
Yes, there is.
Okay. So having said that, the Grand Poohbah was scheduled to do the robotic wheel motor propulsion demonstration, which basically I've done nothing on this
Yeah,
week.
that's why he's saying
Except
no
that I brought
use.
in my junk.
And
And what
Steve's.
what
He's
we
got
have
8 of them.
found.
Okay. 2 more or 2 total?
total.
What size? What size you got?
40s, the 80s I'm keeping.
Oh, you want this one? We'll just let him have this one too.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
I've got more if anybody wants them. I've got
Okay.
probably
I
8 or 10
them.
of them. Okay.
I think
Yeah.
I'm good, thank you very much.
Bring another load of them. I want one for my compressors, theoretically.
Those other ones I gave you are not nearly as handy as this.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, those can be driven directly off of a pie. 1 pin per.
Yeah, I saw that. Excuse me for interrupting.
That's okay. We were, one of the club projects, proposed club projects that's years old now, is Trashman Transport. And that's, my dream is to have an automated robot to carry your trash can out to the curb. And I started looking around, and I got some hardware together, and a gear mechanism, a chain drive, and a gear mechanism, and a wheel to be with a sprocket on it, which I mounted the sprocket on it, and I thought I had found the way that I wanted to go. Well, that's when we found this guy, and this is a wheel motor, and this is on the hoverboards. Okay, and I found that you can get the controller for it too, and it's just analog input, and you can control these rascals. And I bought one of the hub motors, and I got one of the drives like this, probably this one, and I found out it worked. And these have, it's a motor in it. It's a 3-phase or a multi-phase DC motor, and the drive worked great. And these drives are cheap, not that one, this one. This one is cheap, and except they don't come with a heat sink. And so I bought one with a heat sink. Let's see if it's this one. I think it's this one. It comes with a heat sink. And then I found out the one with the heat sink did not have the Hall effect transducers in it. And you can operate the motor without the Hall effect transducers, but your torque is near 0. But this turned out to be a very nice way. It looks like it's a very nice way and cheap to drive something of moderate size. So what I got was a buggy, and I'm going to try to mount these wheels eventually to it. And I've got to, right now, I've done nothing for a while, but the latest objective is to buy the new ones with the Hall effect connector. That's actually a connector on this end, I think, or this end. That has, no, it's up here. The Hall effect transducers, you got an extra connector that you don't have on these guys. That one's blank. That one doesn't have the Hall effect transducer stuff. This has a Hall effect transducer stuff, and you need them.
You know why you need them?
All I can say is they don't have enough torque. If you don't have the Hall effect transducers, those controllers won't give you enough torque.
Well, why? Is it the feedback? Is it something?
Yeah,
with
it's
the
a feedback. It feeds back the position of the thing, and it says you're supposed to be here, and you're supposed to be in this position. I'm moving you clockwise, and you should be in this position, but you don't know when you get there. So if you load it up,
it needs the
feedback. You can use PID algorithm to control this, whereas the other one, you're blind.
Right, okay, right.
Yeah,
It's kinda like using a stepper motor controller.
Well, a BLDC motor, their startup torque is bad if you don't know the initial positioning of the rotor. And so the Hall effect sensors allow you to know exactly what the position is. And they rely upon, so this one here that doesn't have position sensing, the way that it works is once it's spinning fast enough, the coils that aren't energized generate enough electricity that it can be read the voltage, and so it knows the position.
Right.
Oh, okay.
But if you're not moving fast enough, there's nothing to generate the back EMF. And so if there's no back EMF, it's in this startup phase where it's essentially running it like a stepper motor, but stepper motors are inherently lower in torque. Whereas when you have this, it knows exactly where it's at, and it can manage the phase.
Yeah, the only issue was, well, they're both about the same price, really. The only issue was, is I couldn't find one with the Hall effect connections on it with the heat sinks on it. Now I got two heat sinks, I'll just transfer that one to the one with the Hall effect transducer connectors on it, and away we go. Hello?
Have you checked to see if you can just solder onto these pads?
You would have to have that firmware. If required, because this firmware is going to set up as a sensorless design,
Yeah.
so it won't, unless it had some. Usually they won't, but they can have an intelligent algorithm that if it loses the Hall effects, or the Hall effects are too noisy, it can go into sensorless mode, but usually not.
Oh, now, see, that's the difference. I'm just a technician, I know it won't work. He knows why.
Why? He gets down to the granular.
Yeah, so like I said, electrical engineering is not my major, nor is it my job, but while it's my hobby, I'm an engineer, so I kind of dig in.
Yeah.
We have a lot of hobbyists. This is Hobbyville in here anyway.
Oh, I'm happy to help and share.
Okay, I did pros and cons. The pros is this motor hub is cheap. It's one moving part. You don't have to put gears. You don't have to do transmission. You don't have to do anything. No chains or belts. Reduces mechanical issues. The controller is cheap and available, and you have speed control and torque control too. Simple mounting. The cons are it's heavy. These guys are quite heavy, and it's the reason I didn't bring one in today. That's my story anyway. I'm sticking with it. No. The cons is it's a controller. The good news is the controllers are cheap and plentiful. I got to find one with a heat sink on it though. Well, actually, I got to transfer my heat sink over.
Round numbers, how cheap?
The controllers are $14, $15.
Okay.
And then he's found some that even you can talk to with I2C and stuff.
It's not I just
Serial.
bought the hoverboard controller,
Oh, okay, the whole controller.
and I am between the accelerometer board and the main board controller. They use serial communication.
Okay.
The wheel hubs are, what, $26?
Yeah, they're less than $40. I think I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen them on eBay for around 40,
For a
40,
couple.
45 bucks
Let's see.
for two of them.
Oh, okay.
So cheap.
So they're around like 25, 30 bucks
Yeah.
a piece.
And then they do tend to have quite a bit of torque. I may have to go with. I'll probably go with two of them for direction to add direction control. But looks like it might be a viable option. The other thing that I did a couple of weeks ago, and I repeat when there's nothing else to do, is my camera surveillance stuff. I did a make your security camera a telephoto camera. Okay, and we talked about that, and we talked about the wrong way, which I demonstrated, the wrong way to put a telephoto lens on your camera. I just strapped a cell phone telephoto adapter on the front of this, and got a picture and some idea of what you could do with it. And then the right way for these surveillance cameras, the CCTV, closed circuit television stuff, they sell these, and these are standard closed circuit television lenses. These are set, what I pay, $10 for these, something like that, 10, 15 bucks.
Oh.
And this is
Oh,
an
that's
entire set. They
interesting.
go from 3.6, maybe one step down, which is a standard size, up to, I think these went to 16 millimeters. And I estimated and bought a 12 before I got this kit. And these just screw, this is standard. You just unscrew this, and you did this. And took one out. This one's also one that's broken. I just put the other one in, adjusted it. The focal length's a little bit different for the different sizes, but this is a standard, what to say, M12 by 0.2
Yeah,
or
it's a
0.5.
real small thread.
Yeah. And it worked fine. Every one of them was just fine. So I tried the 12 mil. What my objective is I have trucks going in front of my house. I'm on a rural route, and trucks shouldn't be going in front of my route. So I started taking pictures of every car. It's kind of entertaining to a hobby guy. And I started using a 1.3 meg camera to do this with, and it's not optimally mounted. And I started taking pictures of the vehicles and filing them. And then when I got a truck, I would save it. And so we found out that it wasn't optimal because the picture was too big, and the actual usable part was like this, and my picture was this wide. So I said, well, I'll get one of these lenses and we'll fix that. So we tried the telephoto adaptation of it, and I tried the 12, and the 12 actually turned out to be too close because I need some trigger time for these cameras. These cameras are like 20 bucks. You can buy these for 20 bucks now. They're not the fastest things on the face of the earth. But I had to compromise between my width of my view and the trigger time, because you can only get so much trigger time. If you narrow your window, you're narrowing your trigger distance. I use iSpy, which is surveillance software that happens to be able to use that camera. It doesn't happen. It's the most popular free surveillance package available. Very popular.
That's the Windows.
And it runs under
Tommy.
Windows. Yeah.
You can't get it in the other platform.
No,
It's gotta
can't
be
get it
Windows.
under Unix. Even Leroy submitted that you have to go to Windows to get that free. But so
And they do have a paid version, but
you can pay for it,
Yeah.
but you don't have to.
okay.
And there are options that you can pay for, like license plate recognition and stuff like that. With these those are 720p supposedly cameras. And so I was able to get closer in, but the trigger time, and I had to play with iSpy to get the trigger time. The way you play with iSpy is you can set the zone that you want to monitor, and I found out if you do a very narrow monitor and very wide, where you're not looking at everything under the sun, but just a very narrow area, then you can get a pretty decent trigger, and you can improve your signal to noise ratio by taking a very small area and turn the gain up, and that improves your signal to noise ratio. You also have another function that tells you how many milliseconds between when you do your comparisons. That sets off the alarm, and the default is 200 milliseconds. Okay, and you can change it. 200 milliseconds is about equivalent to 5 frames per second, it says. I said, okay, so I'm going to try to do 2 frames. No, it's 5 frames per second. And so I tried that, and I found out that at 5 frames per second, I did cut my scan rate in half to 100 milliseconds. And I found out that was good, and I could get a reasonable trigger time and made sure everything was in frame. 90% of the time, I'm totally in frame. So this was good. And but then I started noticing that the PC was becoming useless. The CPU utilization of iSpy, which tells you right at the bottom what the CPU utilization is, it started getting a bit out of control. I went down to 50 milliseconds to analyze it every 50 milliseconds. So you're doing picture comparisons every 50 milliseconds, frame comparisons, and that tended to load it down my 6-year-old Windows PC i5 and NVIDIA video board, and these things all make a difference. So what I did was I compromised. I went to 15 frames per second and increased the alarm frame comparison interval, or decreased the interval, and made it much faster and better results. So compromised, I'm doing 5 frames per second and doing 100 millisecond, and I've changed everything else because I generally, when you're doing security like this on one PC, and most of them are Wi-Fi, you're going to load up pretty quick. I've got 20 cameras. That's how bad it is, Gail says. But so hello.
That was me.
That's bad.
I'm sorry. I
That
didn't
was
mean
me.
it.
He's communicating with the aliens.
So I
Again.
increased my interval to 300 milliseconds on everything else, because I generally run at 2 frames per second on everything else. I figure I'm trying to connect, find people doing bad things, or somebody doing something wrong, or a flock of ducks walking through the yard, like happened one time, or the cats, or whatever. I can catch all of those at 2 frames per second. So typically that's what I run at. iSpy is really a good package. You can, like my trigger, you can set your trigger rate automatically at, you can, when you're monitoring, you can set your rate interval different, your rate actually, frame rate different from when you've detected something. So what I do now is when I detect something, I go from 5 frames per second to 15 frames per second. So I can get a better video of what's going on. What I found out, I was pretty successful, and I went through things that we've discovered before, and I've discovered them again. And what has held is if you have a smaller area, the amount of light that you use or the picture that you have is going to be smaller. Your trigger zones are going to affect you, how big the zone is, and it gets critical when you're using a smaller area. Also, during daylight, you have beautiful, crisp pictures, well-centered, and in the evenings, the pictures are well-centered, but they ain't so beautiful. Yeah, they're blurred.
Yeah.
And at night, they're basically unrecognizable, which might be better if I use something more expensive than a $20 camera, or I'm thinking maybe a lens with a larger aperture. I'm learning technical terms.
Or an
Now,
IR.
are you able with your software to independently do each camera in terms of frame rates and
Yes.
Okay, so for low tech areas, if you will, low resolution, you're okay, but you're focusing on the driveway for trying to capture trucks. That's where your frame rate is at.
The only reason the frame rate is up has nothing to do with resolution. It has to do with trigger time. I need to catch the vehicle when it's in frame, and that's the only reason. The resolution, I actually have 3 cameras looking at my driveway. Okay, one of them is a 5 megapixel, and it will get a license plate number if you pull in to the driveway, and it will get whatever's in there. And the 5 megapixel is very nice for security work. With this thing, I can almost get a tag number, cause my picture that I'm taking of the trucks and the vehicles happens to be at the end of the driveway. And it's just the width of the driveway is all I'm doing. And with this 720, I can at times get tags, but it's not super reliable. A 2 megapixel absolutely would get tags. So I got two different purposes. The purposes of the high frame rate here, really my intention with a high frame rate is I don't need the high frame rate. I'm saying that maybe it would improve my detection, my frame, because if the way the comparison works, it takes this frame, compares it to that frame, okay? And if I think I detect something in this frame, a difference between the previous frame is actually 2 frames. I think it takes this one and this one, and this one and this one. Well, I'm going to try, this one's going to be this space, and what I'm going to try to do, instead of waiting again for the second frame, I'm going to wait this distance, this period of time, so I'd get a faster trigger rate, theoretically.
You'll get a faster trigger rate, but it'll be a less sensitive trigger, because there's less difference per frame.
Oh, okay.
One of the things you need, though, is illumination. Have you thought about putting out IR spotlights?
I did. I put an IR spotlight out, but I need one closer to the road. I'm 100
Yeah.
foot from the road.
One of the things, I know ZoneMinder does this. Can you trigger camera 1 from an event on camera 2?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Then you've got 3 cameras. Can you have camera A trigger camera B, or can't? That gives you a lead in to the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
That may solve
Put the one
some of
further
your
along or
problems.
something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. The actual desynthesization is not much of an issue, because I've got the signal to noise ratio good now, because I'm using that little stripe. I'm just on the sensing area. You sense the area. I'm comparing this teeny tiny thin area,
Okay.
all the way down in the
2 feet
gains
above
out
the
the
road or
wazoo.
something?
Huh?
2 feet above the road surface or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Actually, what I did was, I actually have 3 stripes now, which even seem to improve my signal to noise ratio even more.
Yeah.
But I got a good signal to noise ratio. The trigger's nice and solid. It's just, it's not fast enough.
Yeah.
And but that really has been solved. 90%, probably 95% of my things are totally in frame.
If you get your illumination up, then you'll get the same pictures at night as you do during the day.
I'll get the blur out.
Yeah.
That would resolve and that was my intent for putting the spotlight, but I can't put a spotlight that close to the road right now. I'd have to run electrical out there. And so, or I could get one that focuses further out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I'm doing with this. I need a spotlight that I can put these on.
So the lenses in rear projection TVs are exceptionally well made, and because they're large in diameter, they don't give you the blurriness that these do. As you get more and more telephoto, you get grainier just because of the lenses. If you go to a physically larger diameter lens, you lose that, and you now have a larger light gathering area, so your need for illumination goes down.
Right, exactly, and that's what I was saying. One of the reasons I'd go for a larger aperture on these, and they do sell varying ones, but maybe not for M12 by 0.05 or 0.5, whatever it is, 0.05.
I've got a 4 megapixel camera on a 60 power spotting scope. And yeah, a pigeon fills that thing up at 500 feet.
Wow.
And it's surprisingly good. It was a $50 spotting scope.
Wow.
I don't know if you want to bring me.
I happen to have some lenses from a rear projection television, if you want to experiment with those.
And they come in sets of 3.
Surprise.
Yeah,
Actually,
how to implement that
My
is
dad threw one away not too long ago. And
how to mount that
I
onto
said,
my
throw it away.
$20 camera.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any reason to keep it.
I know somebody with a plastic printer. Couldn't plan with that stuff.
Well, this is kind of hobby stuff anyway, but good ideas. You know, some good ideas there.
Yeah, mine, you don't mount the lens to the camera, you mount the camera to the lens.
Yeah, okay.
did you hear what he said about having rear projection?
Oh, yeah, I've got files of that stuff too. For years, my kids, every garbage day, they would bring home stuff. And me being me is like, well, okay, we'll keep it for a while.
Well, if I could get off subject for just a moment, this kind of relates to what, vaguely relates to what you're talking about. I'm at night with a starlight scope, and we have 5 rounds of ammunition to knock down 2 targets. And looking through the starlight scope, it's silhouettes, just big, you know, they occupy the whole screen. So, begin firing, silhouettes go down, I have 3 rounds left, what am I going to do? And I'm just forming that thought. These are tracer rounds, by the way. When a tracer round goes across the firing range in front of the starlight scope, it's like somebody taking a right flare and stuffing it in your face. And just as I'm about to form the idea, oh, I'll just swing around and find another target. So the whole starlight scope goes with thousands of tracer rounds across it. So, yes, there. Your scope with a small thing in front of it. My apologies for interrupting.
No, it's good. That's what we're here for. Interruptions. No, we encourage people to participate. Okay, so that's all I had for my this is the documentation on the lenses. These are just cheapo lenses, not a big deal.
Jim, what resolution are you using for that, for your, I may have missed it, but.
It's 720. These $20 cameras are 720, supposedly 720.
720 horizontal.
P.
Okay.
VGA,
Do what?
720, 780.
720.
720.
Lens vertical.
Yeah.
720 is the vertical when you're talking about.
I don't know. 720p. I don't know.
When you
That doesn't tell you. I don't know. These are PTZ cameras. We've discussed them and I've shown them a couple of times. They come with a little app. You just say, go find it. You plug that into your router and say, go find it. You add it. I've got 8 like that I see on this. You see any movement on the specified cameras, it will notify you, go bleep bleep. People hear me go bleep bleep occasionally, something moved. If it continues to go bleep bleep, then I'll go look. But for $20.
Wow.
The 1.3 megapixels are a little bit more expensive, probably $50-60 these days. And unless you're looking outside or somewhere, I don't see the advantage over the 720. The 1080s they're okay. They're not as reliable as these.
He blew that one up somehow.
That's a Shricam SP012.
What do you do to it? It looks like it caught on fire.
It did. It did. It didn't catch on fire, but I think I know what happened. This is a club member's unit here.
Is that why the plastic's different colors?
It's
been
black on the. See a little brown spot on the back.
Magic
There was an SD card in that slot when I got it back, broke, and the SD card was broken off in the back. I'd never seen an SD card broken in two. So hence lies the problem.
Are we talking about somebody with the initial of K, maybe?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
How did he do that?
Is that actual PTZ or just PT?
It's PT.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've never
Yeah,
seen
it's
any
got a
of the
little
cheap
chart.
ones that
It's
have
a,
an actual zoom.
It's PT.
Yeah.
you can, it's a digital zoom. It is
Yeah,
PTZ,
it
but
doesn't
it's a
count.
digital zoom. You don't count it, but
See
you
it, you
can
see the
zoom it on
melting?
your phone, just like
See
we
the
do.
melting in the brown char mark there.
How,
Yeah.
how did he do that?
I don't know, he probably fell and bumped into something. That's my story. I didn't even ask.
Well, he learned his electronics by putting pennies behind the fuse
No,
box.
yeah.
That's it. That's what he did. He stuck a penny in there.
Now,
It's about the right size.
The abuse of members does not include members that are not present.
Oh, no.
No. We try to.
They're fair game, okay. Learn the rules.
So yeah, but these are amazing. It's just amazing what you can get today.
Harvest the parts out of it. We could probably use the little motor and the pan and zoop part anyway. It's probably still good.
$20, I can get a new one. What will
Yeah,
I?
but-
Yeah.
No, use it for other things.
Well, I'm thinking of making a turret out of gun turret. I mean, a
Well,
turret.
that's kind of what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Sort of.
The issue with putting a higher power lens in these things is the PTZ is somewhat useless. It's still, you can deal, but if you're looking at something, a dot somewhere, you're not going to be able to get it because the dead band is such that you can't zoom it. With that camera, you can see everything. Everything's great. You can pick out exactly what you want to look at. But with a telephoto lens in there, you're not going to be able to do that. And that's what I have to do. I have to go out and move my camera exactly where I want it.
When you zoom, does it zoom to lens center, or can it zoom to a point off center and follow with the?
It's a digital zoom. When you zoom with your phone, you're just gonna zoom the picture, and you can actually change the position of what you're looking at. Like with my 5 megapixel, I can zoom very nicely with a 5 megapixel, and look at stuff, and you'd never know you're digitally zoomed if you got the resolution. You do have a little room here with us, even with the 720s. The zoom can be helpful, and it is pretty helpful, particularly on a small phone. I was surprised when the iSpy zoomed on the 5 megapixel. I'm going like, wow! Zoom across the road. Okay, anything else? Leroy, you ready to go?
I'm ready, I guess.
Okay.
All right. So, the 8th of this month, Google apparently has announced, and apparently it looks like it will really happen this time, that Google Plus is going to go away. So, we need to find some other collaboration kind of tool if we're still even interested in doing something like that. We've got, from what I've read, we've got about 10 months before it actually does finally go away, but it doesn't look like anybody's going to be able to save it this time. It looks like it's going to go away. So I've been looking for some free kind of collaboration tools that either won't cost us anything or whatever. This is one of them that I've come across that I actually kind of like. I've set it up. Right now it's still like on an invite only kind of thing, so if anybody wants to join it and play around with it, I've sent you an email about it. I sent Jim an email about it. But if anybody else wants to join in, I am, as far as I know, I am still the only person here. There's the little bot, and there's me. Woohoo!
Who is that picture of?
Oh, that's
Some other guy named Leroy Miller.
that's my Star Trek character.
He doesn't have a capital R in his name
he's got a load.
Yeah, I don't know. It did that. I put the capital R in there and it did that. So
That's disrespectful.
it is. Whatever.
I can donate a machine, install Linux on it, and Nextcloud, which gives you a lot of very cool features. One of which is it runs. Oh crap! I'm trying to remember what all they call it. I mean, you can do video calls on it. You can tie it to a camera.
Okay. That was actually one of my other. I wrote a whole entire thing, and it actually got emailed out this time, so it's in the meeting notes. But one of my things was we could actually run our own server.
Yeah. So I'm running Discord on one of mine.
I was gonna say Discord. Yeah.
I've tried Discord. I don't see it.
I'm also running.
It's on my list of top 5 to try, but right now I kind of dig this Twist thing. I don't know why. I just.
Well, I mean, I can donate one. I can set it at my house for now, but if I move, it would have to move to somebody else's house. It's got to be somebody that's got pretty good bandwidth, but I can set it up so that wherever it is.
We are relatively small, and we really don't get a whole lot of. I mean, there are some posts.
Yeah.
But it's. I'm not so sure that we would use a whole lot of bandwidth as it is, unless we're doing video stuff, then we might. But I was just going to kind of show a little bit here. There's, we've got the GitHub repositories as well that don't get used nearly as often as they should. But this has integration to that, so if somebody posts something in GitHub, it will show up in this app. And I know other
I can do
ones do that as well. The thing that I thought was, and yours probably will too, but the thing that I thought was interesting is members can start to add their own collaboration teams here. So, if me and Vicente were working on something together, we could just add our own channel and start chatting right there, and invite other people to join it. Other people would be able to see it inside of our organization and could join, but we could start our own thing about robots or whatever, which I thought was interesting. It's got Todoist integrations, which, if we were actually on a time crunch, we could actually plan, schedule things out ahead of time and then have Todoist tell us that it was actually coming due or whatever.
Yeah.
That sounds like work.
Yeah.
It's an actual collaboration tool. I mean, it's not really.
No, I'm saying have something nag me that I have something due. That sounds like work.
It does sound like work. And I actually turned off that notification on my Todoist list, but that's just me. We have the ability to email the group, this group as well, so things will show up if I email. See, like email is good. I emailed that to myself basically. But I emailed it to the group, and hey, look, there's my car. Because I just wanted
you
to.
got here early.
No, it's the other library.
It's the other library.
Middletown Library.
I just wanted to make sure that I could send pictures or documents or whatever, and of course I can. So, of course that all works. Some other stuff. There's quite a bit in here. Another one that I think might actually be good. It's not exactly a collaboration tool, but it's got collaboration tools built into it. It's called Keybase. It is actually more of a GPG or a PGP. So you set up keys and you sign each message and everything. They've added free team chats to it so that you know anybody that you know that's on this thing can join, or you add them to your team and you can chat with them. There's also the ability to almost instantly share files with it, and it's all encrypted, so nobody really can know what's going on. I thought that one might be interesting. People, I don't use it as much as I should, but people actually should use something like that more anyway. And if we're just talking about maybe doing just file sharing, you know, Dropbox, we can share files across Dropbox as well. And if we're just talking about simple, ordinary, everyday, stupid chat, we could go really old school with the IRC.
I had no idea there was an IRC channel for it.
Well, I set that up. I set up an IRC channel for us, God, 7 years ago. I've seen all of one person in the channel. Guess who that one person was?
Who? Yeah.
3 people actually, me, myself, and I.
I mean, it's old school. It's nothing but text.
That's all you need.
And you don't even need a client anymore. You can do it right off the website. So we could go in there and just start chatting. That's technically not really a collaboration tool. That's more of if I want to talk to you quickly or whatever, and I don't want to call you.
Have you considered a party line telephone?
Sorta. Yeah.
Or a string and 2 cans.
Yeah, that too.
The geocache notes.
My other thoughts were perhaps to set up a wiki somewhere. I've talked about using wikis before, but I'm not even real great about doing it for documenting the projects and whatever. GitHub, you can set up a wiki on GitHub, so we may not even need to really set anything else up. We just start using the tools that we're already using to the advantage that we actually should use them.
Yeah, I know when I use the Microsoft equivalent to Dropbox,
Yeah.
I can allow or disallow editing.
Yeah.
So
Dropbox has they've got like a team deal, which is actually a collaboration tool, so people that you give access to would be able to edit your files.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I can't imagine anybody here being malicious enough to delete everything that was posted, but I can envision myself accidentally doing something like that.
One of the nice I don't know, I know which one you're talking about. OneDrive is what you're talking about, right? I don't use it, but I know Dropbox, if I go onto the website, I can go back. If somebody's deleted something or I've deleted something, I've got like 30 days to recover it.
Okay.
So, not a huge deal. I think this thing is sort of what you're talking about, Steve. Like Hum. Have you heard of that one?
No.
That's one that you install yourself. It looked interesting.
Okay.
That one looked interesting because you can install it on a Raspberry Pi.
Okay, but you can put NetServer on a Pi too.
There's
I'll look into that one.
There's a half a dozen. I mean, I just sort of I scratched the surface. I mean, there's literally thousands of these things. So, you know, we might, I think we need to switch, but what we switch to may not be what we want to ultimately use. And that's why I was sending invites to people just to see if other people liked what I was or what it was as much as I thought I liked what it was.
So you start looking at in this in June 2017?
Well, I have been talking about doing documenting projects and collaboration projects for a very long time, and I think we've finally gotten to the point where we might actually not just have to do it, we're going to be forced to do it. Especially if we want to continue any kind of ongoing chat. Me and Vicente, and I think Marcus, you've used G+ a little, and Frank's used it a little. We're not a huge group of people, but me and Vicente talk back and forth all the time on G+. What I actually would love is, you know, we basically have, 10, 15 people that are normal, everyday, everybody comes, and these people should
But
all
you have
be
maybe-
inside of this thing.
You have maybe 30 on the list and 15 active.
Something like that.
There, if you look at Meetup, you'll see that there are hundreds of people
Yeah, there's
That are hooked
on
into
Meetup. My list is probably 150. You know, the distribution.
we've got maybe 15 people that are active.
Okay. My approach to this is we have multiple issues, and like you were saying, one of them is a chat room, which we're kind of like doing with Google Plus, like you're saying, and that's one need, and it's been not widely accepted, but somewhat accepted. We're a small group, and we're kind of hobby-like, and I think it's been helpful, and it would continue to grow. This group, this club is like 8, 10 years old. Okay, and we have a core group of 15. We're not a huge group. We're getting more and more core. This is more than last year, and a lot of this is because of Meetup. So I expect our growth to continue slowly.
And the one thing, the nice thing about it has been, you know, if you run into a stumbling block on a project or something, you could post it somewhere, and Vicente, who knows a ton of stuff, will come back with some off the wall answer that you've never thought of, and you go, that would work.
and that's a good thing for Google Plus, you know, doing that surface level communication between club members, and I kind of submitted stuff that I might do in the meeting, and people kind of submit what they're might propose in a meeting or something like that, and that's good. The other thing is some serious collaboration tools where you have a specific topic.
This is more of a serious collaboration tool.
I want to just overview of where we are, and then we'll talk about the individual tools. But it looks like we have multiple needs, and we may be able to find some tools. Leroy's looking to do both, to be, and it looks like he's found some tools that may do that, and he'll discuss that at length. But we'll be talking about this. One of my things is, some of my restrictions are, I would prefer to have something that's public domain, like this meeting announcement is sites, and the Meetup is public domain, it's not controlled by me. This is controlled by me, but it's a public thing, and Leroy has some access, his access that he needs, but I have a death grip on it, and I prefer to keep a death grip on it because I want to protect your mail information. Nobody will get your email unless you specifically say I want him to have it or whatever, and so that's a concern of mine. So everything will be pretty much, I prefer public stuff. that's controlled by certain, and when Leroy becomes president, I'll just give him the keys. Here's the keys. Watch where you drive this thing, and he'll own it.
Drive it off the bus.
Yeah. So that's my input. I think we need to be thinking big picture. What do we want? And it looks like we at least need 2 different tools that might meet our long-term
well,
needs. And
GitHub
I'll give
isn't
Leroy
going to
the
go
charge,
away.
and he'll come in and tell you guys what their offerings are, and then we'll go in that direction. Like Google Plus, I promoted Google Plus. I'm selling to him that you got to sell this stuff to the people, and then it's going to take time to do that, unless he finds something that's really appealing, and then that would be good.
I mean, that's pretty much my I was hoping that the 4 people that or the 3 people that I invited in plus myself could go in and test this and see if it would actually do what we want. Because basically, you know, the 4 of us, we already know everybody's email address, and you just saw my email address up there. I don't know if you would see it from that side, because I'm logged into this account. But you know, that's something that we need to know. Of course, again, like you said, we all pretty much know each other anyway, so.
You know what we need to do? Google Plus, or share up a spreadsheet about features that we want.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Brainstorm, find the features. And
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. I made a small list. We just need to figure out what works. The other thing that I think probably would benefit if there's an app for it, so that it's on your phone as well, and you're not just tied to the desktop. Because you know, IRC, you're pretty much tied to the desktop. You're only going to chat if you're sitting around your computer.
I just posted to your IRC.
Did you? Well, see, I already shut my IRC, but that's all right. I'll find it.
From my phone.
Did you do it from the phone?
Yeah, I leave.
You got a client.
I leave an IRC running at home in a screen session. So.
Cool.
So you went through your phone.
This is the group that you're associating with here. Take notes of what's going on here.
So you sent it to the PC at home then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I had your email address, I would invite you to play around with it.
Jim,
Actually,
send my email
anybody.
address, Jim.
Actually, anybody. I'll invite to play around with this, but I just need your email address.
Jim, you have the right to give anybody in this group my email address. How about that?
Okay. I'll put it in the next meeting and then he'll be on Meetup next week.
Give mine out on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, that's right.
The one reason,
on the odd month.
Yeah, the one reason why I did like Google Plus was all you really needed to know is the person's name. You didn't really need to know their address.
That's
But-
terrifying.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Well, I guess it cuts both ways, doesn't it? Because I don't really like giving out my email address, but I don't mind talking to people, so I just don't want them to email me all the time.
There's a couple other options. Microsoft just created their free version of Teams that has 10 gigabytes of storage plus 300 people. I've used Slack. I prefer Teams over Slack. It has some features that Slack. Everybody hates Microsoft. I know I'm talking to a couple Linux guys here. But,
I hate everyone.
At some point in time, you're going to have to make peace because GitHub is going to be out there.
Microsoft got GitHub.
Yeah, well,
Microsoft got
I've
LinkedIn.
made peace with the fact that Microsoft owns GitHub, but I'm not 100% at peace with everything yet.
I would much rather give Microsoft my details than Google.
Mark that
How's
up.
that?
I need to get you
Really?
some of those.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Put it on the back of that.
We use
Yeah.
Teams at work, and it feels like the personification of a police state. I prefer Discord just for some personal stuff than Teams, but I've never used Slack. So.
But if you're trying to make things easy and accessible, the Facebook groups is very easy and accessible.
Yeah, I personally hate Facebook.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
I hate Google Plus, so.
So let's
We gotta have to decide on
I mean,
some-
honestly, we're picking factions, but in reality, they all sell our data just as well as the other.
It's true.
You know, that's
So if we're
pushing to run our own server.
So if you're trying to get
Hates
public
everything.
accessibility, though,
That's what he said.
that's a very low barrier to entry, right?
Okay, now he's hit one of my hot buttons.
Well,
Let's
yeah,
see that.
and I think you can debate this all over the place. I mean, really, you can just make a decision, and based on that particular app, it probably does most of the things we want to do. I mean, you know, if you start just going through all these different things, you could spend a lifetime doing it. I mean, if we look at Twist and see if that works, you know, if that doesn't work, we find something that doesn't work on that. Okay, what's next?
Well, that was my thing was, if Twist doesn't. I personally happen to like some of the features of Twist, but if it doesn't work, I don't care. I'm not tied to it. Throw it away. Let's find something
there's
else.
some entropy in change, though, right?
Yeah.
So finding somebody that's going to be around. I mean, we would think that Google would be around for a while, but even Google
Yeah.
does that. So.
Well.
And why did they shut it down? Because they leaked had the
Right.
potential to leak everybody's data.
Yeah.
Okay, so they just made they're selling our data point move. Unless you go totally private, and then.
And there's a lot to be said for just running it on our own server as well, but.
But then you get accessibility
Yeah,
problems.
I mean, what are we trying to hide? I mean, what are we trying to protect? I mean, really,
Somebody
just,
has to know to go looking. for it,
honestly,
but
what are
if
we
you have
trying?
something
Until you got the copyrights on your hobbies.
See our web.
No, just plus this message. That's
Well,
just-
Yeah,
I
but
was
like
looking
I have
for-
10 clients on my computer, but really I only have one or two that I really use, right?
I was looking for something that has a chat feature, has the ability to create some sort of rooms or
Right, I like
extra
that.
extra structure,
channels, because-
extra whatevers, has the ability to integrate with some of the other services that we should be using but aren't fully taking advantage of, and has some stuff that we probably would never use, like being able to actually email the group. Seems a little silly. It even seemed silly to me when I did it, but it worked, and I was able to email a picture. Those were the three. Those were really the three things I was looking at. Is Twist the right app? I don't know. Is Slack the right app? I'm not sold on Slack. I got it on my desktop, but I'm not sold on it. I've got a whole list of them now.
Some
Yeah.
forum
You
sites have
mentioned
plugins
earlier,
so that also have chat windows too.
an
so-
application, and while I'm not very much of a smartphone or an Android person, I find people that are not 70 years old are.
We're working on it.
Yeah. So it's a matter of finding we're not gonna be here forever, and that means that there's gonna be other people that are tuned into it, and I find that to be a very compelling thing right there.
It's a conspiracy.
I know that, sometimes when I'm away from my computer, and I'll get a little post from Vicente or Frank or something, and I'll look at it, and I'll be sitting at Kroger's or somewhere, and there's nothing else going on, I'll just, oh yeah, I know how to do that. I'll email you when I get home or whatever. But having an app is nice because you can look at it right then and decide what you're going to do with, but it's not necessarily everything. I mean,
But there are some people to whom it is everything.
Yep. Yeah, the younger generation's definitely coming up with
So
cell
we need to
phones
put
glued to their
Facebook on the
ear.
list.
I don't want to put Facebook on the list.
I don't want to put
I don't
Facebook
wanna
on.
put
I'm not a Facebook user.
I don't want to put Facebook
But
on the
if
list.
it's if it has access, exposure. I'm all for exposure.
So
I'm
who's,
all for
It has
exposing myself.
exposure like syphilis.
Yeah.
who's gonna make up the,
There's good
who's gonna,
exposure,
who's gonna
bad
make up the specification list, the checkoff list?
Well, that's why
so
we're gonna
when-
have. That's why we need a spreadsheet. And
Well, just the
a
checkoff
team.
list of what functionality that you actually want.
Yeah.
in the system.
What tool should we use to make the
I have a
spreadsheet? I've
basic-
got some good options.
What
We need
tools
a
for the
specification
well,
first.
yeah, we'll just Jim, you control everything anyway. You just told us that.
I have the ultimate word, and,
That's called
and when
Ryan.
Leroy gets it, he'll be the ultimate authority. But
What?
you know, we
Ryan.
try to get everybody.
Ryan
We like
is-
try to get the group involved and do. Gail's taught me how to do spreadsheets to make decisions, and
Yeah.
it is the way to make decisions.
Well,
Yeah.
Gail, why don't you do the spreadsheet for us?
Yeah, yeah.
See, I
And you
use
just
a
bring it
cord-
to the
I
meeting.
taught him.
That's what you taught him? It's like, you delegate it to him? Okay.
So you.
Jim,
Ryan.
do the spreadsheet.
Now you
for
see
us.
how things go, where things roll downhill, and all that stuff.
Yeah, without a spreadsheet, you can't, your mind's not gonna be able to, there's too much stuff going on, you gotta have a way to.
We got to have RFP.
There was one of these, you'd said something last week about the news group, and there was one of these that actually acted just like a news group. I put it in here and I don't remember which one it was now.
Yeah, I like the news group
I haven't used it.
concept. They're
Use
ideas
groups.
like
Yeah.
I haven't
like
used
he's got.
that in about 10 years.
Yeah. You mentioned one that's hierarchical, where you can have a group here, and you can have subgroups of particular interest, and you can do your work down here and pop up to the general group, like the club level, and say, I'm working on robots, I'm working on security cameras, and
That's what this is. I could add anything I want here.
Have you considered ICQ?
That's an old
that's
one.
old too.
But you can also, some of the groups I've been in, they have their own forums.
Thought about several years ago. I did create a Google Groups. Never really did anything with it, and I thought that might actually work just as well as anything else too. It's pretty simple. It's just a simple email group, but I don't know. I really don't. I don't have a good answer.
that's why we need a spreadsheet.
My solution
Yeah.
is we
Spreadsheet
just
it
start
out.
trying stuff out. I mean,
But the trouble is, right now we have basically 3 people that use Google Plus, 3 or 4, and if you start moving around, first of all, you better pick one that's good, or nobody's going to go. Okay, and you're going to confuse everybody, and nobody's going to be interested. And if you get somebody to do something, unlike what happened to me this week, if you get somebody to do something, that's progress. So I say make a good choice, make one that's
Get a lot of buy-ins.
get
people
buy-in,
that
and
jump on.
you maybe get 1 or 2 buy-ins here if you're lucky, and then away you go.
but
The snowball starts rolling.
you've got the chicken or the egg. Somebody's got to use it first to find out if it's even physically.
But if you give them a bad tool, you're done. It's
One does the
over.
poison and the
It's
whole
over.
thing is finished.
Because I've been promoting Google Plus for 2 years,
yeah,
and I try to help, and I say it in here, and I mention it every meeting, and we're pushing it, and it kind of meets some of our needs. It's not too bad for some of the stuff we do. So I say, let's make a good first decision. Try to make one that'd be acceptable by most and meets the criteria, and kind of figure out what you want, and then figure out what we got.
well, okay.
I will
What do we,
some-
what do we
if we
want?
start on it, I'll start.
What
playing.
You want me to,
Google Plus did.
I'll send you a spreadsheet
Man,
tomorrow.
what Google Plus,
I'll
if
send
they
you a
if they can do what
I
Google
will
Plus
be a beta
did,
tester.
plus,
Alright, so
we're good to go.
here's what
Okay.
That's what
So-
I.
so
I'm
what
going to
you're-
invite you
Yeah,
and just,
but, yeah.
we'll just
Communication,
play.
So what you're saying is if
ability
there's a
to
10-month
either store
countdown
files
clock,
or integrate
by
with
about
file
month 6,
storage.
there will be somebody going, we have the features of Google Plus, come
Potentially
here.
some writing
Exactly.
capability.
There
those are
already
some of the core
are.
things I've heard.
Yeah.
We just gotta
I
find
like
it.
this. I actually
Okay,
like
the-
this.
the-
I
I
mean,
like
but
this
I'm
too.
sure it's a lot of them I like.
Okay, send me an
So-
email with that
but
on it.
if it's open,
I'm just
if the open
listening.
source is
Yeah.
available.
Well, that's good, and that's what we
I-
do, they
I will be
kinda
a
throw
beta-
stuff out.
Beta
I
tester,
think,
I'll
I
throw
think
you
this
my
actually
feedback,
may
put it in
work
the
better than
spreadsheet.
Google
I do
Plus.
too.
Okay.
I like it, yeah. I do
We
too.
got a victim already,
I'll be a beta tester.
he'll be a beta
Well,
tester.
put your name, put your email on there somewhere so that I can invite you.
For Twist,
Yeah.
I'll put my name on the email.
I need another,
You have a writing utensil?
I need another paper or something.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
We're
Hey,
gonna,
Mike.
How about you just type my email into the thing and that way you don't have to remember it.
well, I can do that.
It
Do
almost
you
got
care
there.
if people see it?
I don't care if I'm giving
Here you
it
go,
to
use
for
the
the
back of
group
that.
for the thing.
Actually, let's move that off the screen.
It is a
then.
little bit funny that we're passing around a business card and a pen to record the data to choose which collaborative data software platform we're going to use.
We've chose paper and pencil. Your other option is a pen
No
or a
exposing
Sharpie.
irony here, okay?
Yeah, no.
You weren't here doing Jim's speech about that. It's a safe place.
Yeah, freedom from fear, except for the leader and people that are not here.
Pigeon.
That's where we are right now.
Here you go.
Alright,
Oh, sorry, Gail.
And we will have fun, this is mostly fun,
Yeah.
and sometimes
do you want in on
serious.
this, Steve?
Yep. Mr.E, if you're typing stuff in.
Oh, I'll do it.
Mr.E at plug.org.
Clud?
Plug, C-L-U-G.
Since they Linux user club.
That's the shortest email address I can give you, that I pay attention to.
C-Lug,
Yes.
okay. Ready?
Yep, Kevin K, K-E-V-I-N-K,
Mm-hmm.
Cam like camera, Kevin K, Cam all one word, at msn.com.
Yeah, it's critical, make the right decision for the group overall.
K-E-V-I-N-K, C-A-M, just C-A-M, nothing,
okay,
yeah, no
okay.
camera.
We've got time now. 'cause
That's
it's
why
not
I
going
checked.
away for
I was
everybody here,
confused.
Probably, maybe.
10 months.
Most people expect it to end after Kevin K, so I have to be long
It'd
winded.
be nice if you could transfer all that stuff over.
I
No,
don't,
and
I don't
Google will
know
be
if
ma-
any of
or
you-
they'll
I've
be
looked,
making
I've
it
been
difficult
trying to
to
figure it
do
out.
that.
They haven't added this Google
So
Plus
you
on
may
API?
look at what's accessible to the tool to transfer.
I
data out.
actually tried, I tried to
Export or something.
export some of that stuff and it gave me
I think
HTML
I heard
links
that
and
they
I'm
were
like,
going to make a-
that doesn't help
That
me.
doesn't help you, really. You're going away. Why not?
The other thing is, he's on but strict, he's got a rigid
I am
mindset.
hoping that eventually they
So
will
when that buzzer goes
give a
off,
good way to
we're
get
gonna-
at least part of that
It's gonna
back
get
out.
dark
'cause
in here.
Some of it's really good and some of it's,
Well, if
You
I
don't wanna
might
overstay our
make
welcome.
one comment, this is just a general one. I don't know whether any of you have seen this or not. It's a USB medical bracelet. And you can, if you have health concerns, anybody can plug that into their device and get complete access.